Thank you, everyone, for joining our LAN meetup this evening. The topic for tonight, as you all know, is how to leverage AI agents to enhance your operational excellence. So Uday is going to talk about it specifically, like how you can use it for decision making, for resource allocation, and whatnot. Like you can use AI agents for all the different good things to enhance your operational excellence. Uday, he leads Metastore, an AI product-based consultancy company. He has worked as Chief Digital Officer at Akira Technologies. He has worked as Platform Product Lead at Capital One. So he has held various roles in product management capacity and program management. I'll hand over the floor to Uday for his detailed introduction and the topic for tonight.
Excellent. Thank you, Anju. And thank you, Toby. And thank you to the Loud and Agile Network for giving me this opportunity to present some of my ideas and thinking on this very exciting and emerging topic of AI agents. I'm going to start with this picture over here, and that is my son over there. This was 7, maybe 8 years ago. We are up here in Loudoun County, and my kids have been participating in this event called the Step Up Loudoun. I've also been volunteering as part of the Google Developer Network's experts for many years. One of the things as part of my volunteering hours every year when I show up, they give me a Google device. 7, 8 years ago, they gave me this device that you see in the middle. Some of you may recognize that as a Google Home device, right? That inspired the Alexa and so on and so forth. I'm not sure if you guys have played with this, but when I came back with this to my back home, my son, who's been in STEM a little bit, he was excited. He's like, "Dad, what can we do with this?" I said, let's check it out. And then we go to Google's website, and there's something called Dialogflow. There's an SDK, and we start experimenting with this. And he built this thing called Personal Teach. It was simple, interactive, conversational program where it was essentially designed for elementary school students to practice for their SOL exams. And so there was a math quiz, there was an English quiz, but this was my first sort of interaction with anything AI on NLP. These were early days of NLP, right? Remember that when we talk about conversational AI and applications, we're talking about a machine being able to understand what we are saying and speaking, and then be able to respond intelligently. As I said, this was back in 2017, March 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And we've come a long way since then, and all of you have been reading the headlines out there. But I just wanted to quickly bring some perspective over here in terms of how fast and furious this whole space of AI, ML, and Gen AI has been moving. This is a quote from Eric Schmidt. He was a couple of weeks ago, and again, for folks who don't know, Eric Schmidt was the CEO of Google for some time. A couple of weeks ago, he was at Stanford talking to a undergrad econ class. And this is a statement that he made. I'll read it. Essentially, he said, "Say to your LLM, make me a copy of TikTok, steal all the users, steal all the music, put my preference in, produce this program in 30 seconds, release it in an hour, and if in 1 hour it's not viable, do something different." This seems pretty crazy and ridiculous, but Eric's point over there was that we're fast approaching this, where this thing, this use case, this command is going to be fairly routine, fairly normal. And right now, it sounds very nuanced and novel. But this field of AI agents, and we'll talk about more about that, is going to make this possible. Some of these crazy scenarios possible, where we'll be able to design these workflows, autonomous agentic workflows, which will be able to crawl the web, bring in different kinds of tools to bear, do reasoning, do decisioning, go back and forth, and be able to give us outcomes, whether they are products or services that today require a lot of people, specialized people and skills, and heavy lifting to make happen. So again, what we're seeing over here is an authoritative figure like Eric Schmidt making this claim, and if it's coming from him, it probably carries some weight, right? So now back to my intro, so what you see quickly is over here is that I've been sort of working in this cross section of tech, product, and customer or UX experience, and it's really been a combination of the different experiences I've had, and some might scoff at it. It's like a pretty busy chart overview of different logos, but I've enjoyed these short experiences. My most again, these days I've been spending time on the federal side, just coming out of currently doing some work at FDA. But my last big commercial experience was at Capital One, where Anju mentioned that I was leading product for the card authorization platform. But this collection of startup, entrepreneurial, Fortune 500 consulting, and fellow experiences have given me a pretty unique perspective of being exposed to a number of use cases, technology stacks, and people from different walks of life in order to be able to really be passionate about the field of tech product management. And these days, when we talk about product management, especially tech product management, you cannot not talk about data and AI. I mean, everything that, when we think about solving problems, tackling opportunities or challenges, or user needs, data and especially AI is front and center. So what are AI agents? And more importantly, how do you describe them? What are the important features and attributes? So let's spend a little time understanding what an AI agent is. But in order to do that, let's think about the evolution of software development. You go back 15, 20, 25 years, we talk about systems that were very deterministic, right? We wrote code, we spelled out the logic in different languages, and we had and that system did exactly how it was supposed to, right? That's what we call a very deterministic system. You gave it X, you expected Y, you did that a million times, you always got X, Y from X, right? That was always there. That was the past. The way things are evolving, we are now looking at not just AI, but we are now staring at these things called large learning models, or LLMs, or generative AI, this whole field of generative AI, which is a subset of AI, which is allowing us to do things which we call non-deterministic. In other words, when you give X to your ChatGPT or your favorite chatbot, you may get Y, you may get Z, you may get Y prime, Z prime, you might get right. So that is not deterministic, right? That often also leads to something what we read and understood called hallucination, where the outcome of that non-deterministic model can be all over the map. But there's ways to train that, control that, and engineer that in terms of what the response you want. In terms of the future, what we're looking at is these large language models getting more, affording more interesting problem-solving use cases with the help of these things called agents. And agents are affording us a bunch of different capabilities, and I'll give you a definition very quickly. But let me also contrast what you're seeing on your screen by another way to think about this. And if you go back, again, 20, 25 years, there was a thing called big data. You probably remember Hadoop and those things. That big data then led us to more advancements. We got to data science, more sophisticated data science, AI, ML, which then led us to generative AI, which now is leading to agentic AI. So again, that's another way to think about how the journey of data and data science has evolved from big data to now what we're calling agentic AI or AI agents. So if you were to look at a definition, and there are many out there if you were to Google, an AI agent is a software program that can plan its actions using online tools to complete those tasks, collaborating with other agents and people, and learning to improve their performance. Now, if you focus on certain keywords, and I've highlighted them: plan, tools, collaborate, and learn. What agents are affording us now is a way for us to not just give them instructions, but for them to bring in some reasoning of their own. So they can take a set of process or tasks we give them and break it down into smaller tasks, subtasks. They have the ability to do that now. They can bring to bear the tools to perform those actions or subtasks. This could be a web scraping tool. It could be a software coding tool. It could be a QA tool. It could be a stock analysis tool or stock picker tool. Any tools that you can think of, you can bring that tool into an agent and it can leverage that. Collaboration. You can think of a setup or a use case where you have multiple agents, multiple actors, multiple workers partnering with each other. Because as we'll see as we step through this presentation, when you think of a typical work setting, whether you are at Capital One or Freddie Mac or a federal agency, multiple actors and multiple roles come together to make a task happen, right? You've got somebody who's planning, somebody who's designing, somebody who's building, somebody who's testing, somebody who's deploying. That collaboration happens. Agents, as you will see, are now allowing us to model those different interactions and collaborations and going back and forth and that decisioning. And finally, the learning part. This is the most important part. And one of the things you've probably heard and read about is this concept of AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which is machines bringing human-like intelligence to our products and services. And with agentic AI and AI agents, we are now starting to see that these agents have come in with a lot of memory. They retain what the conversations that have been happening in their context, in that state, and they can recall that. So there's an aspect of learning, recall, memory that also comes into play when we talk about AI agents. So that becomes really smart. It's not like it's not a dumb agent that cannot recall. It's not stateless. It's stateful, which means that it remembers things that have happened in that interaction. Okay, and we'll see some examples of this. So this is, as I mentioned, this is one way of defining what agents are. But the more important thing for you to take away is that they enable planning, tooling, collaboration, and learning. So what are some features and attributes of AI agents? And I've put a bunch over here, but I'll talk about a few over here. I already discussed memory, which is at the bottom right. They can retain the context and go back and forth and reason. So that memory is very important. They're autonomous. Once you fire an agent, they move on their own because they've built the intelligence. Now, there's also this aspect of human in the loop. We often hear about the importance of bringing in humans and who have the domain knowledge, who understand nuances and edge cases. But for the most part, agents can operate autonomously. And decision-making in the center is very important. Each agent has the ability to leverage certain rules that we give to them, have certain guardrails, and then operate within those guardrails rules and make some decisions. The right column in the center, interaction. We talked about collaboration, which is the same interaction. These agents and workers can talk to each other in runtime in an autonomous way. On the left in the middle is goal orientation. Each agent has a set of goals, and we'll see examples of this. So when we again think of real world scenarios, think of your own context, think of your workplace, think of your client, think of your project. Everything that we do is in the service of a goal, of an outcome, of a target. So within agentic workflows, we get to define goals. Each agent might have a goal. A supervisor that's think of that as a super agent that brings all these agents together, has an Uber goal. So once again, when we think of these agents, they're driven towards and optimizing a certain goal, an outcome, or a target or an objective. So again, these are the different features and attributes that agents bring to the table, bring to the context. And all these things are very important when we think of the larger umbrella and domain of organizational excellence, operational excellence. So how do we build an AI agent? Let's get into the mechanics. I'll talk about a couple of tools that are out there, a couple of platforms that are out there. Some of you may already be playing around with some of these platforms. The first one that we're looking up here is called LangChain. LangChain is a mix of open source and commercial capabilities that it offers in terms of building agents. On the bottom left, you see something which is a single agent design platform, which is LangChain. You can build simple use cases, simple agents that do normal, really simple things like do a stock analysis, or give me a report on this stock chart, or tell me a joke or something like that. So something really simple. LangGraph on the right is something that allows for what we call multi-agent interactions or hierarchical agent interactions, which get into more complex and nuanced cases. We'll see some examples of that. In the middle, you see something called integration. That's a set of capabilities that LangChain offers to integrate and orchestrate these for different things. LangGraph Cloud is a place where you can host and deploy these agents. And LangSmith on the right is really the if you think of monitoring and alerting and instrumentation and observability, LangSmith allows you to look under the hood in terms of everything from debugging to prompt engineering to testing and so on and so forth. So this is one leading platform out there that's allowing development of AI agents. A second one that's out there, it's called Crew AI. And again, that one is open source, but Crew AI and LangChain have been partnering quite a bit. So if you end up doing your own little experiment, and you can build these agents using Python or JavaScript, if you're familiar with that, you'll see that both these SDKs can coexist and partner with each other. But one of the things you start seeing over here is some of the concepts I've been touching on earlier, where you have things like a task. Agents are broken down into tasks, and tasks require tools, and agents have goals, tasks have goals, and all of this collection of these interactions, we call that a process, much like any process that we have within a organization. And all that is leading to an outcome, right? So that's where we are that is what an agent is trying to accomplish. Now let's take a step back and think of just in very basic fundamental terms. So I want to make sure that you all are able to wrap your head around, like, what does this look like in terms of first principles, right? So think of you or anybody in your organization being a user. That user is setting up a task and say, hey, I want you to give me a detailed report on a stock ticker, or I want you to build me a very detailed travel itinerary which has bookings and pricing and such, or I want you to do credit underwriting and then give me a credit report for between this lender and broker. That is, if you can think of any of those use cases, what you're going to have in a typical setup is you're going to have a supervisor who is overseeing these different tasks and activities. Think of all of these agents as different workers. Each agent under the hood is really a set of a prompt and a LLM, right? So each agent, and within whether you use LangChain or whether you use Crew AI, you have the flexibility to use a favorite LLM. It could be OpenAI, it could be Claude, it could be Gemini, what have you. But again, each agent over here represents a combination of a LLM and a prompt. The routing over here is really that collaboration interaction. You get to define, as you design an agent, you get to define the routing and the decisioning and the collaboration and the interaction. So that is the routing. Some of us who are more in the software architecture engineering side might look at this as a stateful interaction where the agents are nodes, and the connections over here are edges or the relationships. So you can think of this, as I mentioned earlier, it's a stateful interaction where all of the work that gets done in a typical agent flow is stored in a memory and can be recalled for reasoning and action. Now, this one is a more complex representation of what you saw earlier, where you have a supervisor that's monitoring multiple things. Think of this use case as an agent that does the following job for you. It takes a topic from you. It could be, the topic could be Hinduism. It could be large learning models. It could be credit underwriting. It could be FICO scores, whatever. Pick your favorite topic. And you have designed this agent, or the purpose of this agent is to take that topic, go research it, and then write a paper on that topic, along with maybe some illustrative diagrams and pictures. That is the purpose of this agent. Now, if you were to draw this agent out, just like most of us do when we think of software design, we first come up with a rough sketch or mockup. An agent, when you're designing an agent, this is a rough sketch or mockup that you might end up doing to think of what does that agent context diagram look like. So a supervisor over here is overseeing a couple of agent teams. There's a research team and there's a document authoring team. Then research team has a search agent and then has a web scraping agent. The document authoring team has a writer agent, a note-taking agent, and then it has a chart generator agent. But each of these circles or these boxes are agents. Think of them as agents. These are all agents, but some of the agents have more authoritative roles compared to other agents. But again, you see the routing. So the routing is a collaboration that's happening between these different agents. But the goal of this agent is to produce for you or for the customer a detailed white paper along with charts and illustrations on a topic of interest. Now you can imagine if you had to do this with brute force or manually, it would take you many hours, many days, multiple people coming together to do this. You need a SME, you need a tech writer, you need somebody who is good with graphical representation or charting, you need somebody who's going to be doing research on the web, a number of different things. Now, if we can bring all that stuff together in an agent, wouldn't that be magical? So this is an illustration of that. So far, we've covered a few different things. We've covered what is an AI agent. We've covered some platforms. We've covered some features and some basic conceptual representation of what an agent can be. Now let's look at a real example. And this example I'm going to walk you through is a product launch agent. So imagine you want to launch, you're thinking of launching a product. And this could be any product. This could be a physical product. I don't know, it could be a soap, it could be a candle, it could be a cake, I don't care. It could be a software product, but you need help with launching a product. And here's somebody who's designed a product launch agent that can help you think through a few different things. So let's step through this. This crew or this team comprises of 3 different agents. When we think of product launch, we need somebody to do the market research. So we need an analyst for that. We need somebody to be a technology expert, because we need some of those capabilities. And we also need somebody who is savvy with business consulting and analysis and those kind of capabilities. So this agent brings together, the supervisor or this AI agent brings together these sub-agents or workers: a market research analyst, a technology expert, and a business consultant. So how do we bring this to life? How do we start building this agent? Now I'm going to get into some code. So, but I'll keep this simple. This is Python for folks who understand this. But again, I believe this should be fairly straightforward for folks to follow, even if you haven't done any coding. We'll go to 3 pages or 3 slides of code, but again, I want to keep it super simple. So as with any code that you write, we're going to import some packages. On the top third that you see over here, we're importing some some LangChain packages, some tools over here. The search engine that we're using over here is DuckDuckGo. Some of you might have used that. So we bring that tool into the mix. But more importantly, we're starting to set up the crew. You see define crew, we're setting that, that's a product name. We're setting up that crew, and that crew comprises of 3 agents. Like we said, we need a market research analyst. That we define that agent, we give it a role, we call it, essentially, like we said, market research analyst, we give it a goal. Your goal as an analyst is to analyze the market demand for blah. This product name is a variable. This product name could be your favorite thing. Like I said, it could be a soap, a candle, a cake, whatever you want. But your goal as a research analyst is to analyze the market demand and suggest marketing strategies. What is the backstory? How do I tell the analysts and give it some context? We say, hey, analyst, your backstory is you are an expert in understanding market demand, target audience, competing and competition for products like blah, and you're skilled in developing marketing strategies. Okay. So what we've done so far is we've defined an agent, one of the 3 agents, and we've gone further. We said, can this agent delegate some things to other agents? That allow it delegation is turned to true. Does this agent have access to a tool? We said, yes, they have access to a search tool, DuckDuckGo search. Okay, so far so good. If somebody's not following, now's the time to speak. Ask a question, stop me, or raise your hand. And I can't see who's raising hands, so please, Toby or Anju can point that person out. But hopefully this is reasonably logical and simple so far. Okay, let's keep moving. So we've designed, we've coded one of the 3 agents, market research analyst. The next 2 agents that we need to go is the technology expert and the business consultant. Again, it's the same pattern. We set up the agent, we give it a role, we give it a goal. The technology expert says their goal is going to be assess the technological feasibilities and requirements of this product. The backstory, we're saying, hey, expert, you're visionary in current and emerging technology trends. Your specialty is in these products. So go ahead and help us identify technologies that are best suited for different business models. Okay, so I'm not for this particular agent, I'm not just stopping at describing the goal, but I'm telling them what kind of behaviors and attributes and characteristics and capabilities they need to bring to bear. Okay, finally, the business consultant agent, their goal is to evaluate the business model of this product, focusing on scalability and revenue streams. There's a backstory. So now what we've done, we've defined we've built a crew. We've defined these 3 agents. We've provided the tools. The final step is bringing all of these different agents together and define the task. So next we step into define tasks. All right, the first task we're saying is analyze the market demand for whatever your favorite product is. Write a report on the ideal customer profile, marketing strategies, include at least 10 bullets addressing key markets. And for this task, we're saying, I want to use the marketing research analyst agent, right? So far we were defining the agent and their goal and their expertise. Now we're defining what task that agent should be doing. And we are pairing up the task with the appropriate agent. Task 2 is assess the technical aspects of manufacturing this product. And we're saying, who's going to do this task is going to be the tech expert. Task 3 is summarize the market at technical reports and evaluate the business model. Who's going to do this job is going to be the business consultant. So what we've done now, from defining the agents, we've now defined the task, and we've paired up the right agent, the right person with the right task. Now let's build the crew. This crew, or this agent, which is the business product launch agent, is going to comprise of these 3 agents. The market analyst, the tech analyst, and the business analyst is going to do these 3 tasks, and these tasks are going to be done in a sequence. And finally, we wrap up with kicking off this agent. This is invoking this agent, and then what you see at the bottom over here is just a simple Python package called Gradio, which allows you to simulate AI models. So we're using Gradio to bring this model to life, or to this agent to life. So what we've used is we've built a crew using tools and agents, and we've also defined a user interface so that the users can interact with this agent. Once you start interacting, so I tested this with a product. I'm trying to build a laptop stand. That is my product. I take that laptop stand and give it to this agent. I say, help me think through the business scenario for business plan for this and a few other things. So for the laptop stand, this agent says, here's how you're going to do product development. Here's how you're going to do market penetration. This is what your competition looks like. This is what collaboration, this is who you should be collaborating with. And this is how you should be marketing, right? So that is part one of the outcome of this agent. And then part 2 and 3 are, these are the goals that you should be targeting for product development, testing, manufacturing, entry, and penetration. And here are the rough timelines. So the outcomes might seem trivial, but imagine if we could take this agent and make this available to anybody or everybody who has a simple idea. All of us have ideas all the time. But what this agent is doing is empowering a small business, an individual, or a large business to be able to do this at scale. It's doing a number of different things, like I said. It's doing all this research, it's scrolling the web, it's looking at the competitive landscape, it's coming up with a business plan for you, it's setting up, helping define goals, it's giving you some timelines or a product roadmap. So this is an example of how we use Crew AI and LangChain to build an AI agent and then bring that to life. But let's look at a few more nuanced examples. This one over here is, think of it as, let's say you're in a bank or a lending business, you're a financial institution, and you need to, one of the jobs that you do, one of your team does is writes these credit risk memos. Now, I've never done this, but my understanding is writing these credit risk memos is a very, very specialized job. You need relationship managers, you need credit analysts, you need to understand the lender, you need to understand the borrower, and then it takes a week, maybe a massive number of hours to essentially go from point A to point B to do these memos. And that's what you see in the top half, where the relationship manager is looking at a number of different sources and collecting a lot of data. Then they partner and collaborate with the credit analyst. The credit analyst spends 20 or so hours writing the memo. The relationship manager reviews the memo, gives feedback. The analyst does the fine tuning, and that is the outcome. Now we can imagine at the bottom an agentic workflow, a generative AI agent that can be designed and productionized to do all of this for half or maybe a third of the effort of what it usually takes. And so this is where relationship manager would prompt the agent with relevant materials. The agent would take that material, divide it into tasks, because we've designed those specialized agents underneath. It would gather the data, do the analysis, collaborate to generate a draft memo, and then the relationship manager and credit analyst would review the memo, give feedback back to the agent rewrites and fine-tunes that memo and gives the final memo. So this is a fairly nuanced case that I was able to see. It was described on one of the McKinsey publications out there. Here's a little more fun use case that you can think of, where we have an agent that actually does a few different things. It researches a whole universe of movies based on your movie watching preferences, and then generates an email that that gives you a list. It could be a weekly or daily email, whatever that is. It sends you a message with movie recommendations based on preferences, right? So there are a few different things happening over here. There's an agent that's going to the database and looking up the preferences. Then they are looking at, then there's another agent that's taking those preferences and going against IMDb or whatever source that out there to look up and identify the matches and do some decisioning over there, reasoning over there. Then there's another agent that's going to draft this email in a fun and intriguing way with the movie recommendations, personalizing it. Then there's another agent that's calling the email service and putting it out there and sending that email, right? So here's a little more fun experience agent, AI agent use case that is describing a set of tasks that different agents are doing, coming together. There's a lot of partnership, collaboration, interaction, reasoning, and such going on over here to then deliver a goal and outcome, which is sending that email with personalized recommendations for each user in this system. One final example I came across is an agent that generates jokes. Now, yes, today you can go to ChatGPT and say, tell me a knock-knock joke or tell me a fun dad joke. It could do that. But the reason you would want to build an agent is so that the jokes that you get are not a repetition, or they don't look and feel similar to something that you'd heard before, that was served up to you before. So that is where the reasoning comes. That's where the interaction comes. So in this use case, the joke teller is coming up with jokes, but then there's an interaction and intelligence built in, which says, go look up my joke database, see if this joke has been shared or told before. If it's been done, go rewrite it. Or if there's something similar, go rewrite it. And this interaction goes back and forth until we have a joke that is punchy, distinct, unique enough to serve to the end user, as that is the goal and the outcome of this joke AI agent. Let's take a step back and zoom out. Think about in a typical organizational setting, whether you're in a nonprofit or a federal agency or a Fortune 500, what are some use cases that you could think about where AI agents you could pilot them, prove them, experiment with them? Here's some typical needs or use cases that come up in an organization. Let's say you need to generate a financial report. You could design an AI agent for that. You want to do employee onboarding, where it requires scheduling training for them, scheduling meet and greet conversations, having them do benefits, having them require them to do other things. You can imagine an agent or multiple agents coming together to do that employee onboarding and relieving a bunch of your HR manager's job or HR benefits analyst's job and giving that to an AI agent. Inventory management, another interesting use case where AI agents can help alleviate a lot of effort, relieve capacity, and bring in a lot of autonomy. Meeting scheduler, expense manager, customer agent, project management. I mean, again, social media. A lot of these things require multiple people to come together, multiple specialities to come together. But some of these are, could be just one individual, but they have to do multiple things. There's a lot of context switching, a lot of different tools that come into play. And whenever you have that interaction, a lot of context switching and accessing different tools, you can think of potentially bringing an AI agent into the mix and designing one so that it can do it with relative speed, repeatability, reliability, and most importantly, relieving you of a bunch of time from doing some of those mundane things. So let me pause here. I think what we have next is I'll get into the challenge and risk, but let me just pause here and open the floor up for any questions, comments, observations on things that may not have been clear in terms of how I've been describing things.
Folks, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions directly.
Wonderful, thank you. My name is Zena, and I am taking an agile course now. So I am just getting used to everything and figuring out the terminology, and also figuring out the other roles that I'll be working with. So for someone like myself who's not familiar with, let's say recruitment assistant, if I find a job, in an HR company, and I want to do something to stand out amongst everyone else, how would I put something like this together? Or is it something that I would need more experience with in order to know what to tell the AI agents to do? Is there a more streamlined way I can kind of figure it out for myself, or do I just need experience? Because it sounds like you have a lot of experience, and that's where the skill is, your skills lie.
Yeah. No, thank you for asking the question, and thank you for being brave to ask that question.
Thank you.
I'll say a couple of things, right? What you're seeing over here, and in order to put this, kick the tires or put this test or experiment with this, I think you need two basic things, maybe three basic things. One is healthy amount of curiosity. If you're not going to be curious, you won't be able to imagine these use cases, right? Number two is some level of domain expertise. And when I say domain, if you're thinking about employee onboarding, you need to understand a bit about what that process and domain looks like. If you think about recruitment assistant, you need to understand how recruiting works, right? If you're talking about financial reporting generating, you need to know a little bit about, what is that domain? What does that process or functionality look like? That's two. So curiosity, domain expertise. Number three is having some basic coding skills. And I mentioned Python, JavaScript. They are both, especially Python, very easy to pick up. But as you would have seen, this code up here, a lot of this code is available out there. A lot of videos and tutorials are available out there in YouTube and all kinds of platforms. You can just copy paste this code, right? And yeah, you will have to set up your environment, your machine a little bit. You'll have to import a few different things, maybe subscribe to some of these LLMs. But again, the pricing of these products, a lot of this is open source, but pricing, if you want to subscribe to GPT 4.0 or Claude or Gemini or your favorite LLM, the pricing of all those services has dropped down dramatically. You could spend hours and weeks and testing and building these things, and you would have spent no more than $10. Let me put it that way. So the investment really is about your time and curiosity and effort. Really, it's not about the dollar. So I would start there. But again, as you can see, this is fairly logical. Yes, I was an engineer once and I wrote a lot of code, so maybe this might come a little more easy to me. But even for the average person who hasn't coded before, but as long as you can think logically and in a structured way, and as long as you can draw something like this, you can take this concept or this mockup and convert it into this with reasonable ease. That's my response. Hopefully it makes sense.
It definitely did make sense. When it came to, I learned basic coding many years ago, a while ago.
Yeah.
But one thing I realized is that with the coding that I saw, you were very detailed about the instructions that you gave, and it doesn't seem like I get that information from a basic AI prompter course. So I just figured maybe those nuances. Maybe is there a video or something that I can practice this, or another place where I can see more examples and learn? Because I haven't seen anything like what you're talking about at all.
Yeah, so one thing I should have said earlier, this is a emerging field. This is very new to market, right? If you go back a year and a half, I think November, December, when OpenAI came out, ChatGPT, that was, I think, October of 2022. So it's been maybe a year and a half. Those chat interfaces and LLMs, they have captured our imagination. They are showing up in multiple places. Organizations are starting to embrace that for a number of different things, for content generation, for summarization, for all kinds of, for image generation, right? We talked about multimodal capabilities where you can give a prompt and images can be generated just based on your textual prompt. You can ask questions, you can have a conversation with video, you can do video, all that stuff is there. But agent AI or agentic workflows, this is relatively new. This is an emerging field, which is where a lot of experts are saying the future lies. Give you an example. Today we go to the Apple App Store or the Google App Store and we grab our favorite apps. Tomorrow, we could be going to an agent store where you would have all kinds of agents sitting over there that you could subscribe to. You could pay $1 or 50 cents for an agent to build you a very detailed travel itinerary to Vietnam, along with bookings and hotel reservations and restaurant bookings, all that stuff, right? You could just pay $1 for that. Or it could be something to do with a stock analysis, stock portfolio analysis. It could be retirements portfolio. It could be any number of things. And we are not too far from that when they'll be, just like we had apps and we look at us on a mobile phone and we see multiple kinds of productivity and entertainment apps. Tomorrow, there'll be a gazillion productivity and entertainment agents that'll be out there at your service, at your beck and call for cents and dimes to be able to do things for you on a personal basis or a professional basis to really expand your capacity. So that's the future we're looking at, where you'll see democratization of all these specialized things that we had to pay top dollars and spend a lot of hours learning. These agents will bring that to us readily and on a drop of a dime.
Okay, I definitely understand now. Thank you so very much. I appreciate your answer.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. So let me, again, the floor continues to be open. I want to just wrap up. There's a couple more slides over here. So this is all fun and exciting, but as we've seen, AI, Gen AI is riddled with a bunch of risk and challenges, everything from data privacy, security, hallucination, and all that stuff, plagiarism. So yeah, all that fine print, all that caution is still equally applicable over here. As I tell everybody, and as you probably tell others, please always build responsibly, right? So security and privacy is front and center over here. Make sure that the data that you have access to, your agents have access to, you know what the data is, you trust that data, the source of the data, the quality of the data, you know your audience, so things like profanity or other biases, they don't exist in that data. You're responsible for that. Ethical challenges, again, I touched on biases, but you don't have a set of data, or you haven't designed an agent in a way that it's biased towards one demographic versus another, or one outcome versus another. So you have to think through ethical challenges, not just in terms of the data that you're bringing that you're opening this agent up to, but also the goals and the outcomes that you are designing this agent for. Technical complexities, as I mentioned, this is a very emerging and new field. Platforms like LangChain and Crew and also Vertex, that is part of the Google stack, they're still building capabilities and they're still trying to figure things out. So these are, we're still in the sort of the crawl phase, but the promise and the potential is really high. We're at the top of the hype cycle over here. but a lot of experts and pundits are saying that this is something that does have a lot of potential, especially when we've been looking for that $1 million use case for generative AI and LLMs. We've been trying to crack that for the past year and a half. Agent AIs could be that $1 million work use case that LLMs and generative AI can deliver. But again, there's a lot of technical complexity. But platforms like LangChain and Crew AI are trying to build those capabilities that are abstracting away the complexity so that you and I don't have to deal with all that plumbing and things like that. We can quickly set things up. We can quickly observe them, test them, debug them, and productionize them. Finally, make sure that you understand that your audience that you're going to expose this agent to will have questions for you in terms of, should I trust this agent? So you'll have to work with make sure you understand your audience, the problem you're solving, make sure you make it easy for them to understand, to wrap the head around that this is trustworthy, that everything, the way it's been designed, it's responsible and ethical, and that adoption can be eased the way you're trying to target this to your market or your customers and clients. So again, bottom line is make sure you're thinking through all these nuances and building your product responsibly. You're bringing the right players and people to the table, and you're taking this in a very measured and small and an experimental way. Reducing the blast rate is, if something was to go south, which often happens, you're not blowing things up where it can come and bite you or hurt you or your reputation. All right, that's it. I think I've taken up most of the time and entered a couple of questions, but I will open the floor up for any other questions that you all may have and go from there. Toby, Anju, back to you.
Yep, thank you. I see a lot of good comments in the chat section. Folks, feel free to unmute yourself if you have any other question. We have it there for next few minutes with us.
So let me ask: has anybody done any kind of experimenting? Has anybody been poking around with LangChain or Crew AI? Okay. Again, I'm not looking at the comments, so maybe I should. I see Karen. Karen, please go ahead.
Yeah, Uday, I'd just like to say that earlier today, I attended a Microsoft Azure session on AI apps in action, build your own Copilot, and it was by KPMG. Yours was down to earth. It was just hands and above. Theirs were such a generalized high level. But when I saw that Python, my head explodes when I'm near coding. But I saw that Python and I said, oh, maybe I could do this. Anyway, you made it very relatable, very doable. And just wanted to say that.
You're welcome, Karen, and appreciate your feedback. Thank you so much. Again, personally, when I'm trying to learn something, I try to make sure it's simple. So if I'm going to tell you or teach you somebody else anything, I want to keep it simple, because if I can't wrap my head around it, you won't be able to. What's the point of having that conversation?
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's hope for me yet.
No. I'm telling you, this is fun stuff. As I mentioned earlier, all you need is a healthy amount of curiosity and some domain knowledge. And of course, you need to commit a little time. So maybe one evening, instead of grabbing a glass of wine or watching your favorite show or a beer, maybe you say, let me go watch a YouTube video and do that. So, it's really that's the commitment. Commit to time.
How do you know what's the best source of content, of knowledge to go to? You just know that it's there?
Yeah, well, there's, I would say it's a bit of a crapshoot, but I think there are certain leading voices that I follow There, you could, YouTube is a great place to go look things up. But again, if you're on Coursera or Udacity or deeplearning.ai, and these are some learning platforms which have self-paced virtual training courses. A lot of these are free that are geared and targeted towards a very early basic level of audience that are people like testers or analysts or scrum coaches. It's really targeted at that. So again, as long as you have that ability to do system thinking, process thinking, and logical thinking, you can really kick the tires over here and look at this stuff. I showed you the example early on, right? Where and again, maybe this is a poor example, where my back then middle schooler, sixth grader was able to look at Dialogflow SDK in Google and do something basic, build a simple thing. Again, I had to like roll my sleeves up and get in there, but it is, it is going to be a little stressful and you feel like walking away from it. But if you just get over that hump a little bit, you'll see that aha moment. And again, there are very detailed, handheld videos out there and tutorials out there that can lead you to those quick wins and learnings that give you that confidence boost to do something or take on something more complex.
Thank you. I bet you're a great dad.
He is, absolutely. I certify him.
Thank you.
Yes. Toby certified great dad.
Yeah.
All right.
Karen, if I may add, so if you go to the Scrum Alliance website, there is a free course on AI. And the gentleman who presented here last month, there is a course that he facilitates. And that's a great starting point. I definitely learned so much from Uday today, but if I didn't have the foundations from that, I probably would have struggled as well. So
thank you.
So if you're looking for something to just get started, that might be a great option as well. Just throwing it out there.
I caught it.
Toby, I had a request. I put it out there. Is it okay to get a group picture like everybody maybe gets on video? Hopefully people are comfortable with that, and let's get a group picture.
Can you create a crew for that?
Or I can create a crew for that.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, folks, don't be shy. We're all friends over here, right? And yeah, use your favorite background. If you think your room or office might be messy. I see 16 people, but only like what, 8 of us showed us, 7 of us.
Yeah, I have bad hair day today, but that's okay.
All right, how do I fit everybody over here? Is there a way to?
Yeah, you go to gallery view.
I'm looking gallery view, but I only see so many people. Okay, let's do this. And somebody who's an expert might at Zoom. All right, I'm gonna start by taking a screenshot over here. So everybody smile. All right, Toby, take your hand off a beer.
It's scotch.
Cool. All right, let's see. Who else? How do I switch to?
My glasses.
Let's try one more time. One more time, guys. All right, awesome. All right, thanks, guys. This was awesome. Once again, we all part of this community, learning community. So please connect with each other on LinkedIn, right? Support each other, and I'm here if you ever want to chat with me, doing some federal work. If you want to pick my brain about FDA, happy to chat about that or any other thing. But yeah, I wish you all the best. And please don't be a stranger. I'm up here in Loudoun County. If you ever want to grab a coffee or a beer, Toby and I are always here. Toby has, he's building his carpentry practice, woodworking practice, so he might not have the time, but let's go keep doing this. And please, I encourage you, if you have something to share, Loudoun Agile Network is a great platform to bring that knowledge, right? Don't be afraid. As long as you know a little more than the next person, this is a chance. The best way to learn is to teach. So please keep that in mind, and hopefully I will see you guys soon. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Uday. How about a big round of applause for Uday?
Yeah.
This was actually one of the easiest way to learn of AI, and you put it so simply. I really love how simple it was to understand and follow without feeling, oh my God, what is this? You did such an amazing job, and I think I speak on behalf of everybody who's attending. But how about a big round of applause once more time for Uday?
Thank you, guys. You're too kind. Thank you. All right.
Thanks for
take care.
giving us your best.
Absolutely, anytime, always.
All right, so I was
All the
asking
best.
Yeah, thanks, Uday.
All the best, everybody. Take care.
I was asking a question in chat, who likes free pizza and networking? And the reason for that is Loud Natural Network, right after COVID started, we went virtual. And in fact, we did, I think, only 2 events in person right after that COVID hit. But we want to go back to a virtual event. A lot of people have been asking, hey, we want an actual in-person event where we can network with people and see people and chat and hang out and all that good stuff. So we decided that we're going to experiment and see how that's going to work. So on October 9th, it's going to be our first in-person event post-COVID. That's going to happen at REI Systems in Sterling, Virginia. There's going to be time set aside for networking. There's going to be pizza. And of course, we also have an amazing topic. And the topic we have is Stuck in the Bubble, Rethink Work and Drive Results. And this will be presented by Nash Tripathi. And he is a BCC, and he's an amazing speaker. And very unique about him. He doesn't bring any slides. He just brings a blank flip chart, and he draws and explains and moves along based on the questions. So it's going to be very engaging. It's going to be very interesting, and I want to invite all of you to join. The event has already been published, so please go to meetup.com. I put a link in chat. Feel free to sign up. I think there's going to be limited seats, but you get first dibs today. So please go ahead and sign up, and we will see you then. Once again, a huge thank you to Uday. I already asked for 2 rounds of applause. I can't ask for 3. Thank you, Uday. You did amazing, and this was so easy to follow. And I am a fan. Thank you so much, everybody. You have a great weekend.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, everybody.